Evening, everyone. Welcome to the second session of calculation training presented by the Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. The aim of tonight's session is to equip umpires with the skill to accurately reduce overs in the second innings due to ground weather or light, calculate the average run rate, and adjust the target score. So the scope for tonight's session will be to define what is ground weather or light. We will once again, as a reminder, define the calculation tables 1 to 4. We're going to be working through two scenarios. Scenario 1 will be a calculation based on the Western Province Cricket Association AMA20 playing conditions. Scenario 2 will be based on the Western Province Cricket Association's 50 over playing conditions. And then, of course, to end off, we'll just have a conclusion and any questions if you have them. Right, so what is ground weather or light? Any conditions that causes play to stop and players to leave the field of play. So in terms of ground, we can look at pipe bursts or a side screen which has fallen over onto the field of play. And of course, those are quite heavy, so would need some time to sort it out. So of course, players would leave the field of play instead of carrying on. In terms of weather, we're looking at rain, lightning, or dust storm. And in terms of light, when it is too dark for play to continue and players cannot see the ball. Table 1. This is the calculation sheet for use when a delay or interruptions occur in the first innings. Table 2. The calculation sheet to check whether an interruption during the first innings should actually terminate that innings. Table 3. The calculation sheet for the start of the second innings. And Table 4. Calculation sheet for use when interruption occurs after the start of the second innings. Right, let's move on to our scenarios. So just a recap of the Western Province Cricket Association's AMA20 playing conditions. Each innings is of duration of 85 minutes. There's a 20-minute interval which may be reduced to 15 or 10 minutes if both captains agree. In terms of your timings, the morning match will start at 10 o'clock till 11:25. Your interval will be 11:25 to 11:45. Your second session will be 11:45 to 13:10. Your afternoon match will start at 1400 hours or 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. till 3:25. Your interval will be 3:25 till 3:45. And then your second session will be 3:45 till 17:10. The afternoon matches may start earlier if both captains agree, and of course, if both teams are at the field of play. In AMA20 playing conditions, you will have an extra 30 minutes available for ground weather or light interruptions, and or 50 minutes for super over for both morning and the afternoon matches. If the morning matches end after 1:10, then automatically the afternoon matches will start later. So how do we reduce the interval to maximize playing time? So if 1 to 30 minutes are lost, we can reduce the interval to 15 minutes. When more than 30 minutes are lost, we can reduce the interval to 10 minutes. Important to note, though, is that the interval cannot be reduced to less than 10 minutes. With the 30 minutes extra time available, this means that no overs are lost until after 10:40 or 14:40 for the afternoon session. Right, let's get into it. In an AMA20 clash between Claremont Cricket Club and Western Province Cricket Club at the Wally Wilson Oval, the first innings started on time at 10 o'clock, with Claremont CC winning the toss and electing to bat. Claremont CC posted a score of 184 for 5 in their 20 overs. After the start of the second innings at 11:45, the umpires called the players off the field at 12:15 due to sudden heavy downpour. Claremont Cricket Club at that stage had bowled 7.1 overs and were currently on 64 for the loss of 3 wickets. After numerous ground inspections, the umpires declared the grounds fit for play and scheduled to restart at 1:25. What we have to do for this scenario is calculate firstly the number of overs that is left in the second innings, B, show the playing times for the second innings, calculate the power play overs, calculate the maximum overs per bowler, and calculate the target score required for Western Province Cricket Club to win the game. The first thing that we're going to ask ourselves here is, when did the interruption occur? Anyone would like to hazard a guess? Kaino?
Hi, Wilma. The interruption, according to the scenario, started at 12:15.
Yes.
So due to heavy downpour.
Okay. But so specifically what I'm asking is, did the interruption occur in the first or the second innings?
Oh, the interruption is started in the second innings.
That's correct. So if we just take a couple of slides backwards, can you recall which table would we then use if the interruption occurred in the second innings?
So that would be table 4, according to the definitions that you gave in the beginning, when the interruption occurs after the start of the second innings.
That is correct. Thank you. All right, let's move on. As you've correctly said, we will use table 4 to calculate the reduced overs as the interruption occurred after the start of the second innings. Right. What was the time for the start of the second innings?
That would be 11:45.
Correct. This time of the start of the interruption, if we go back to our scenario.
Like I said, it is 12:15.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Yes, 12:15.
Correct. Okay. So at this stage, how long was the innings in progress? If it started at 11:45 and the interruption started at 12:15.
Sorry, my mic was on mute. So if I take from 11:45 up until 12:45, that would give me 30 minutes.
Correct. Right. And if we go back to our scenario, what was the restart time after the umpires declared the grounds fit to play?
So they scheduled play to start at 1:25.
Go. So now to determine the length of the interruption, we would take the restart time, which is D, and we subtract the time of the start of the interruption, which is B. Would you like to hazard that guess? Or at least do that calculation, not hazard the guess.
So I would take 13:25 and I'll subtract 12:15 from that. So 13:25, that would be 70 minutes. It's an hour and 10 minutes.
That is 100% correct. The next question, do we have any additional time available?
As you said in the that in the T20 under-20 playing conditions, that there is 30 minutes available for both morning and afternoon matches. So there is 30 minutes available.
That is correct. All right. So now, effectively then, how much playing time have we lost? So we need to then, in order to do that calculation, we will take the length of the interruption, which was 70 minutes, minus F, which is the available time. Can you do that calculation quickly?
Yeah, I'll take the 70 minutes. That's the length of the interruption. And I'll subtract the 30 minutes additional time available. And that would give me 40 minutes of playing time lost.
That is correct. Right. So now to work out the reduced overs, what is the maximum amount of overs that we had available at the start of the innings?
So at the start of the match, you always have 20 overs that's available.
That
Because
is
it's a
correct.
T20. Yeah.
All right. So to determine how many overs are lost, we will take your answer that we had at G, which is your 40 minutes. And then we need to divide it by the over rate. Now, the over rate for a T20, seeing that the length of the innings is 85 minutes, 85 divided by 20 will then give you 4.25. Can you do the calculation in terms of how many overs you have then lost?
So I would take like the spread, the calculation sheet gives me G, which is 40 minutes, and then I would divide it by 4.25, and that will give me 9.441. So you need to round down, so the amount of overs lost would equal 9 overs.
That is correct. Now, some of the people who don't really know and might ask the question, why are we rounding down? When we are busy with calculations, we will always try to get more cricket in than less. So in terms of how many overs we have lost, instead of rounding it up to 10, we'll rather always round it down to 9. Right? Happy with that?
No happiness.
All right. Now we need to determine the new cessation time of the innings, the length of the innings.
So because we had 20 overs in the beginning of the match, and due to the conditions, we've lost 40 minutes, which is equal to 9 overs. So I would take 20 overs, subtract 9. So the length of the innings would be 11 overs,
That
which is
is
J.
100% correct. Thank you. Right, let's move on to the timings then. Your rescheduled length of innings. Let's go back to J. The amount of overs that you've got left there is 11, right? You've done that calculation.
Yes.
Again, here for K, you will be using the same 4.25 as your over rate. Can you do that calculation?
Okay. So 11 times 4.25 will give me 46.47 minutes. So as you explained earlier, we would like more time or to play more cricket. So we'll round up. So that will give me 47 minutes, which would be the length of the innings in terms of time.
That is 100% correct. So now we need to work out what is the amended cessation time of the innings. When will the second innings end? So remember now we started at 125, 47 minus 30. So can you recall where we got the 47 minutes?
The 47 minutes is the length of the innings, the rescheduled length of the innings. So it's the
Correct. So
time.
the 11 overs that's left.
Yes.
Right? And minus the 30?
Minus the 30 would give me 17 minutes.
Correct. So if we take 13.25 plus 17, what is your new cessation time for the second innings?
So my new cessation time would then be 13:42. So
Absolutely
18 minutes
correct.
to 2. 18 minutes to 2. That should be the cessation time for the second innings.
Absolutely correct. Sorry. Now we need to work out how many overs per bowler and what are the fielding restrictions. Remember now there are 11 overs left, and so we divide it by 5 because there are 5 bowlers. That will be 3 overs. 1 bowler will bowl 3 and 4 bowlers will bowl 2. Are you happy with that? Do you get the same calculation?
I've got the same calculation.
So you will divide 11 by 5. So 5 will bowl 2, and then there's 1 left, and that third one will be added to the first bowler. That's how we got to 1 bowler will bowl 3 and 4 bowlers will bowl 2. All right.
Got it.
Right. The number of power play overs. The first 3 overs will be allowed 2 fielders outside the inner circle, and the remaining overs, 5 fielders outside the inner circle. If I just give you a reminder again, this is a table that you will find in the Western Province Cricket Association's playing conditions, where it clearly just shows you in the reduced overs, right? Normally 19 to 20 will be 6, which is normal power plays, 15 to 18, 5, 12 to 14, 4, 9 to 11, 3, and 5 to 8, 2. If we go back, remember we had our overs that we are left with is 11. So if we go back, 9 to 11, and that's how we got to our 3. You happy with that?
Happiness. So we just
With
need to
how we
revert.
got to that calculation?
So we just need to revert to our playing conditions when it comes to reducing power plays.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
It's always, it's for myself, I do this as well, and I always advise other umpires as well, especially the new ones. Keep a copy of this in your folder or in your back pocket with your bowling cards. It's always easy to just refer to it instead of looking for a whole batch of playing conditions and then struggling to page through and to pick it up. So just make a print out of this and keep it in your with your bowling card so that it's easily accessible, or write it on the back of your bowling card. There is a bit of space there to make notes, whichever is more comfortable for you. Right.
Copy paste.
So let's move on. So in terms of our questions, calculate the number of overs left in the second innings. So we had 11 overs left after the rain delay, taking into consideration that we had already bowled 7.1 at the start of the rain interruption. So what we are left with then for the remainder of the second innings is 3.5 overs. The second innings started at 13:25 and the new cessation time will be 13:42. The number of power play overs, 3. The maximum overs per bowler, 1 will bowl 3 and 4 will bowl 2. To calculate the target score for Western Province Cricket Club to win the game, Claremont put up a target or score of 184. So 184 divided by 20 gives you a run rate of 9.25. Western Province Cricket then, in the 11 overs, needs to, not needs to, but the 11 overs times the 9.25 run rate that Claremont Cricket Club put up would give you a total of 101.75, meaning that par score for Western Province Cricket would then be 101. In order to win, Western Province would then need to score 101 plus 1, which is 102 runs to win. Are you happy with how I calculated that target score? Do you understand how we got to 101?
Yes, I've got it. I've got it. Just one thing to note,
Yes.
well, if I look at the calculate the number of overs left in the second innings, we must not forget that, especially if part overs has been bowled, we have to remember the bowler who bowled the last over, it still requires to bowl
That is
5
correct.
balls.
Yes.
It doesn't fall away. And then obviously you mustn't forget to subtract the number of overs that has already been bowled, because it's not a start of a new set of overs on its own. We need to take account of that which has already been bowled. So yeah.
Yes, that is 100% correct. And in the same vein also, we need to take into account how many runs had already been scored at the start of the interruption. Right? So Western Province had already scored 64.3 at the 7.1 overs, meaning that they would just need 102 minus 64. Do that calculation quickly while we are at it.
So it's 102, subtract the 64 that they already, so they need 38 runs to win.
So they would need 38 runs to win in the 3.5 overs that are left.
That is correct.
Happy?
Happiness.
Fantastic. Let's move on to our second scenario. This one is based on the Western Province Cricket Association's 50 over playing conditions. So also just to give a recap on that, each innings is of duration of 3 hours and 30 minutes and is separated by a 40-minute interval between innings. The 50 over match will start at 10 o'clock for the first innings and ends at 1:30. The interval will be from 1:30 to 14:10 or 10 past 2. And the second innings will start at 10 past 2 until 20 to 6, 17:40. There are drinks breaks every 1 hour, 10 minutes or 70 minutes, or 5 minutes duration. There is no extra time available. However, if there is an interruption, you can reduce the interval to a minimum of 20 minutes. There is, however, a penalty for slow over rate, which means that if the innings or if you reach the cessation time of the innings and there are still overs that need to be bowled and there is no extenuating circumstances that need to be taken into account, the fielding team then needs to bring one fielder in from the outside into the ring, and there should be a minimum of 4 outside the ring, right? Reduced overs calculation. So when 1 to 6 minutes are lost, we can reduce the interval to 30 minutes, 61 to 120. So that is after the first hour to 2 hours, we can reduce the interval to 25. So, and when more than 2 hours are lost, we can reduce the interval to 20 minutes. Again, the interval cannot be reduced to less than 20 minutes. In a match between Balaur Cricket Club and Fisher Cricket Club, with the second innings scheduled to start at 14:10, Fisher Cricket Club 9.2 overs into their batting innings with 53 for 1 on the board. Rain stopped play at 14:50 and play resumed at 15:35. Balaur CC having posted a score of 234 in their allotted 50 overs. So let's calculate the number of overs left in the second innings. Let's show the playing times for the second innings. Let's calculate the power play overs, the maximum overs per bowler, and then also the target score required for Fisher Cricket Club to win the game. Are you ready to get going, Gaino?
Yes, I'm ready.
Right. Again, the interruption is in the second inning, so we will again be making use of table 4. The time at the start of the second innings?
That would be 14:10. 10
Correct.
past 2.
Absolutely correct. What time did the interruption start?
At 10 to 3. 14:50.
That is correct. So how long was the innings in progress?
So if I take the difference, it is 40 minutes that it's been in progress.
That is correct. What time did the umpires give the go-ahead for play to restart?
According to the scenario, it is 15:35, which is 25 to 4.
Correct. So the length of the interruption, again, D minus B, D being the restart time, 15:35, minus the start of the interruption, which is 14:50. That gives us how many minutes for the length of the interruption?
If I do the calculation, that would be 45 minutes.
Correct. Is there additional time available in this scenario?
No, there's no additional time available. Because according to the playing conditions, yeah, there's no additional time. Unlike the under 20 with the
Absolutely, absolutely. So the total playing time lost.
So I would take E as the calculation sheet gives me E, which is 45 minutes, subtract F, which is 0. So total playing time lost would be 45 minutes.
That is correct. What is the maximum overs that we had available at the start of the innings?
I would be 50 overs.
That is correct. So how do we work out the overs lost? Can you recall from the previous scenario what I did?
Yes. So you take G and then you divide it by the over rate, which is in 50 overs is 4.2. That would give me 10 overs lost.
Here we go. Happiness. So the adjusted maximum length of the innings, how many overs are we left with?
So I would take H, which is 50 overs, subtract I, which is 10, it will give me 40 overs.
Correct. Your rescheduled length of innings, can you recall how we worked that out?
Yeah, so we're dealing with time now. So I take the number of overs that's remaining, which is 40, which is J, and I'll times it by 4.2 minutes to the over. So
Correct?
4.2 times 40 would give me 168 minutes.
Correct. Right. Now let's work out the monetization time of the innings. Would you like to go through that calculation for me?
I would do that. So the monetization time is D. So if I go back on my calculation sheet, D would be 1535 plus, if brackets K which is 160 minutes, subtract C, which is 40 minutes. So as we were trained, we should first do the brackets. Okay, so
Correct?
it's 1535 plus, if I take 168 minutes, subtract 40, that will give me 128 minutes. To make it easy, I usually take, if there's 60 minutes to the hour, so 120 will basically give me 2 hours and 8 minutes. So if I add 2 hours and 8 minutes to 1535, that would give me 1743. So 17 minutes to 6, that's the cessation time for the second innings.
That
Hope
is
I'm right.
absolutely correct.
Okay.
Okay, no, you actually do your calculations the same way as I do mine. In terms of 120, that's 2 hours. It just makes it easier for me to calculate. 1535 plus 2 hours is 1735. And like you said, and then you just add the 8 minutes. 35 plus 8 is 43. Absolutely
43,
correct.
yeah. That's the simple way to do it. Otherwise, we will get confused. Um,
All right.
Simplicity is key. Mhm.
Right. Let's move on to the maximum overs per bowler then that we are left with.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead. Remember, we left with 40 overs.
Yes. So Jay, you just go, to make it easy, just go back to your table, which is 40 divided by 5 bowlers. That will give you a maximum of 8 overs per bowler. So they can bowl less, but the maximum if each bowler can bowl in that innings is 8 overs.
That is absolutely correct because in some instances there might actually be more than 5 bowlers bowling. But yes,
That's
if
it.
there are only 5 and it's a nice round number, each bowler can bowl 8 overs. And then in terms of the power plays,
Sorry, Wilma, do you perhaps have the power plays? Because I usually just yeah, there we go. So if I go,
again,
okay, you
this
can
is
go.
in the, sorry, Kaino, again, this is in the playing conditions. Again, make a print out of yourself and keep it handy with you. It's much easier just having this printed out instead of looking through the whole batch of playing conditions. So if
So
we
if
look at, we were left with 40 overs.
should I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So if I read the table, I'll just go in line with it. So the first power play will be 8 overs long. That's in length, and obviously you only allowed 2 fielders out of the circle according to our playing conditions. And then the next 24 overs, we allowed 4 out, and then the last 8 overs of the match, you allowed 5 outside the circle, the inner circle.
That is 100% correct. Thank you, Gaino. Right, let's go back to our questions. To calculate the number of overs left in the innings, we said after the rain delay, we left with 40 overs. Oops, sorry. Bearing in mind that we had already bowled 9.2, that leaves us with a balance of 30.4 overs remaining. And exactly the same as in our first scenario, where we said that that 9.2 over needs to be completed. So that bowler will come back and bowl the last 4 balls of that over before the next bowler comes into bowl. The playing times for the second innings started at 15:35 and the new cessation time will be 17:43. The power play overs, as you likely said from the example or from the playing conditions table, it's the first power plays are 8, the second power play is 24 overs, and the last power play is the last 8 overs. Maximum overs per bowler, nice round figure, 40 divided by 5, that leaves you with 8 overs per bowler. The target score required for Fisher to win the game. Belhar put up a score of 234 in their 50 overs, giving us a run rate of 4.68. Fisher is left with 40 overs to win the game, times an over rate of 4.68. That gives us 187.2, meaning par score of 187. Plus 1, they need 188 to win. So in the 30.4 overs that are remaining, Gaino, can you work out quickly how much they still need to score in the last 30.4 overs?
I'll
Just
do
go
that
back and
quickly.
give you. At the time of the interruption, they had 53 on the board.
53 on the board. So I would take 183 and I'll
183 or 188?
Excuse me, sorry, 188. Correction. Thank you for that. 188. Sorry, okay, let me do that again. 188. Subtract 53 runs. That would give me 135 runs to win.
Right, so they have 30.4 overs left and to score the 135 runs needed to win the game.
Yes.
Are you
So
happy with those calculations, Kenneth? And how to work out target score?
I'm very happy with that. I would not also just to remind umpires that, the number of wickets that fall doesn't affect the win in any way. Your calculation is just the runs. So I'm happy with 135.
That is absolutely correct.
Cool. Thanks.
Before I go to questions, let me just do a bit of a recap. So in terms of our scope for this evening's session, Gaino, do you understand the concept of ground, weather, or light? Do you understand in what circumstances would warrant, or which type of circumstances would warrant players to leave the field?
Yes, I think that's very clear now. I understand, I see you've given examples in your presentation, but there are more than just that which you've given. So it's anything that warrants us to leave the field of play, which affects ground, weather, or light. That I'm comfortable with. And I like the examples that you've put up in your presentation so that if something should happen, I can just make a reference to, okay, I remember the fielders cannot see the ball or the batters cannot see the ball or the side screen falls on the field of play or there's a pipe burst. Let the players leave the field and then we need to start calculating whether we're losing time and overs.
That is 100% correct. And of course, we did a recap also on the different tables that we use for all of these calculations. Do you understand the difference between table 1 and table 4?
Yes, so table 1 would be there's an interruption in the first innings. Then I would revert to table 1. And if there's an interruption in the second innings, I will revert to table 4. So the very first question I need to ask myself as an umpire is when did the interruption take place, in which innings, so I know which table to use.
That is 100% correct. And thank you for your very interactive participation tonight in terms of working out the scenarios. I'm very impressed with how quickly you caught up with it and was able to answer it. I hope that they helped you as well and just makes it a little bit easier for future.
Yes, Wilma, I think that the more we refresh ourselves as umpires, the better it is. Like, this is refreshing for me. And obviously, more scenarios would help, but I can at least refer to this presentation and know exactly how to go about it. But
That is
thank you.
100.
Very, very informative. Thank
That
you.
is 100% correct. Calculations, I believe, is something that should be practiced constantly. In fact, maybe once a month or so, just do a couple of scenarios. You don't always need to ask somebody, send me scenarios. If you have a few, like the scenarios from tonight's session, the scenarios from the first session, and maybe the scenarios from the third session that we're going to do, all that you can do for yourself, in fact, is maybe just change up the timings, change up the target scores. And in that way, keep practicing. But if you need some more, please just give me a shout and I can email some examples to you and you can keep practicing.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Wilma.
All right. Do we have any more questions before we end of tonight's session?
What's the next video? Because I see you've covered table 1 and you've covered table 4. When is your next release of your next teaching?
So our last teaching will definitely be released before the end of this month. That one is going to be a humdinger. It's going to be quite busy. We're going to be doing multiples interruptions. So you need to have your pen and paper calculator at the ready.
Okay.
But I hope you're going to enjoy it. We're also going to try and work out a couple of scenarios where we're going to actually need to be using table 3 and table 4. We remember table 3 is we need to determine whether the interruption actually needs to or causes the end of the first innings. All right. And then
Okay.
table 3, of course, is when does the second inning start?
Okay. Copy paste.
So hopefully, yeah, so we're looking forward to seeing you for that last session. Like I said, it's going to be a humdinger. It might be a bit longer than tonight's session, but I'm sure that you're going to enjoy it.
Thanks, Wilma.
Thank you so much for joining us. See you soon.
We all wish you success.